Clenk Unit 7, Part 5. Okay, continuing exercise 1. We finished number 1, let's do 2, okay? I'm asked for each of these parts whether it is or is not of this form. I'm asked of each particular statement here, A, B, C, D, E, F. Is this statement of this form or not? Well, what is this form? Let's say it. It's a conditional where the antecedent is a disjunction. It's a conditional where the antecedent is a disjunction. Anything which is a conditional where the antecedent is a disjunction is of this form. Okay? Now, it can be very complex, right? I can substitute something very complex in for P and Q and for R. Right? The consequent can be a very complex formula, right? But as long as the overall form is a conditional where the antecedent is a disjunction, I do have this form. So, is A of form 2? Well, what is A? The question is as simple as this. Is A a conditional where the antecedent is a disjunction? You should all be able to answer that. And the answer is yes, it is. Right? The major operator of A is the conditional. It is a conditional, so far so good, right? And its antecedent is a disjunction. That is, the major operator of this subformula, right? Brackets, not A, wedge, not B, end brackets. So that formula, which is a subformula of the overall formula, but what is the major operator of this subformula? It is a disjunction. So A is a conditional whose antecedent is a disjunction. What about B? Yes, it is, right? It's a conditional. The antecedent is a disjunction. Am I allowed to substitute A in for P and also A in for Q? Yes, I am. This is analogous to what I talked about in part 3, which was that a substitution instance in mathematics of x plus y equals y plus x, 4 plus 4 equals 4 plus 4 is a substitution instance of that. B is of this form. How about C? Okay, try it, answer it. Now, how do I answer these questions? Same method. What is this form, form 2? It is a conditional where the antecedent is a disjunction. Is C a conditional whose antecedent is... Wait, stop there. C is not a conditional. The major operator of C is the wedge. C is a disjunction and therefore not a conditional. C is not of form 2. Let's do D. Is D of this form? Yes, it is. The major operator is this conditional. It is a conditional, right? So don't be confused by the fact that this is not bracket C or D. All you need to think, right? It's about what you do need to think and don't need to think. Abstract from what's not important, right? All you need to check with regard to this consequent is if it is a legal formula, right? So we've got a conditional. What do I need to be concerned with regard to the consequent of the conditional? Whether it's a legal formula or not. That's it, okay? It is a legal formula, not brackets C wedge D, close brackets. That's a legal formula. Right? First I did the disjunction, then I did a negation. It's a legal formula, and therefore it is a legal substitution instance of R, of the R here, right? So far so good. It's a conditional. The consequent of the conditional is a legal formula. That's all that matters. So far so good. What about the antecedent? Because the form has an extra condition on the antecedent. To be of this form, the antecedent of the conditional has to be a disjunction. Right? That's part of the form. Part of the form is the antecedent has to be a disjunction. And here, yes, right? The antecedent of this conditional is a disjunction, A or B, so yes, D is of the form. How about E? E is a conditional, so far so good. Not C, is that a legal substitution instance for R? Notice that that's the question you've got to ask. Is the consequent of the overall conditional a legal substitution instance for R? Yes, it is. That's so far so good. How about this? Okay. What is the form? It's a conditional where the antecedent is a disjunction. This is a conditional. Is the antecedent a disjunction? I hope you can all say, no, it is not. The antecedent is a negation, that's the major operator. It is a negation and therefore not a disjunction, because you can only be one of those two things. You can only be either a negation or a disjunction or a conjunction or a conditional, right? And this is a negation, so no, E is not of the form. How about F? Yes, it is, right? F is, the major operator is this guy, and the major operator of the antecedent of the conditional is this wedge here. Legal formula here, legal formula there. What is 3? Okay, again, like with 1, we have to take note that when we make our statement of the form, right, that the negation is part of the form, right? So for any of these to be of form 3, they have to be what? They have to be conditionals where the consequent is a negated conjunction, right? That's all part of the form. It's a conditional where the consequent is a negated conjunction, right? All part of the form. Now, the antecedent can be any legal formula, right? So if I jump to D, for example, is D of this form? I'm often pausing, so you can pause and unpause when you try and figure it out. But D is, yes, D is of the form. P, I've substituted for P, not brackets A and B. That's fine, right? And but is D of this form when I say it? This is a conditional, and the consequent is a negated conjunction, right? That's what this is. This is any conditional where the consequent is a negated conjunction. D is a conditional where the consequent is a negated conjunction, and D is of form 3, and it doesn't matter that the antecedent of the conditional is a complex formula. Any complex formula, so long as it's a legal formula, it can be substituted for the P, right? Let's just keep going down. E, yes it is, right? It's a conditional. This is a negated conjunction, right? Complexity of the antecedent here doesn't matter. Same with this one, except no, F is not of form 3. Why not? Because while it is a conditional, the consequent is not a negated conjunction. The consequent is rather a negated disjunction, right? This dot here on the B dot C of F is not the major operator. The major operator is the major operator of this subformula, of the subformula A wedge brackets B and C is disjunction, right? So the form is conditional where the consequent is a negated conjunction. This is a conditional where the consequent is a negated, so far so good, disjunction. No, we didn't make it, right? Doesn't make the form. Okay. A, yes, A is. B, A is not. No, A is not. A is a conditional whose consequent is a conjunction. Conjunction is the major operator. It's not a negated conjunction. So A is not of form 3, right? Okay, you can do some of these. Let's look at some more. How about 4? Just randomly. Is A of form 4? What is it? It's a conditional, so say it. You say it, try it. Pause, unpause. It's a conditional whose consequent is a conditional for A. Is A a conditional whose consequent is a conditional? Yes, it is. Right? This is perfectly fine. I've substituted A for P. I've substituted A for R. I've substituted not A for Q. That's fine. Those are all legal formulas, right? So it is a conditional whose consequent is a conditional, right? Is B? No, B is not of the form. B is a conditional, and the consequent is not a conditional. B is a conditional where the antecedent is a conditional, but that's not the same. So B is not of form 4, right? How about E? Let's go to E. Yes, it is. This is a conditional, and the consequent is a conditional, right? That's the major operator here, and the consequent of it. Just looking at the consequent as the subformula, what's the major operator of that subformula? It's this conditional. That's legal formula. A hook B is a legal formula. That's going to be my Q. A hook C is a legal formula. That's my R. Okay. So try these. What's this? Say the difference between form 4 and 6. Right? 4 is a conditional whose consequent is a conditional. What's 6? 6 is a conditional whose antecedent is a conditional. 6, that's a conditional whose antecedent is a conditional. So 4b would be of form 6, right? That was the conditional whose antecedent was a conditional. 4b, that would be of this form, 6. Let's try these. What's A? Is this a conditional whose antecedent is a conditional? Yes, it is. A is of the form. What about B? Is this a conditional whose antecedent is a conditional? Yes, it is. That's the major operator. That's the conditional. And the antecedent is A hook, that thing, B hook C. So yes. How about D? 6D, this is a conditional. Is the antecedent a conditional? No, it is not. The antecedent of this conditional is a negation, and since it's a negation, it's not a conditional, right? So the major operator is a negation, so that can't be fit into this form, right? How about F? Yes, F is. Okay.